The Die Hard film franchise is one of ups and downs, predominantly starting up and then going down. I argue, and I will always argue till the end of time, that the greatest action movie of all time is Die Hard, where the greatest adventure movie of all time is Raiders of the Lost Ark, also the best movie ever. But the greatest action movie of all time is Die Hard. It's a timeless classic, a great Christmas movie, and one that people want to see a sequel to that kind of recaptures the greatness that was Die Hard 1 and ultimately Die Hard 3. A lot of people aren't big fans of Rennie Harlin's Die Hard 2 Die Harder. I actually am. I love Die Hard 2 Die Harder, but it wasn't as complex or interesting in the end as Die Hard 1 and Die Hard with a Vengeance, simply because of how John McTiernan was able to craft a narrative setup in Die Hard and then transfer it over to Die Hard 3 a few years down the road and kind of combine the two together. It's what I actually refer to as the Die Hard trilogy, or the Die Hard effect in trilogies. What I mean by this essentially is you have your first movie, which is completely standalone. It's on its own, introduces us to the characters, introduces us to the villains. Hero then wins. The second movie comes along, no real connection to the first one outside of maybe some tangential elements. Third movie comes out and it's basically just a tie-in to the first movie. If you look at Raiders of the Lost Ark, which arguably came out first before Die Hard with a Vengeance, they did the same thing, right? Last Crusade. In Indiana Jones, the Raiders, he fought Nazis. And then in Temple of Doom, he fought the Thuggee Cult. And then in Last Crusade, he fought the Nazis again. It's that type of connectivity to the original film, or at least the original villains. Here, tied it up great because it was the brother of the original villain who wants revenge for his brother being killed, but while using it as a backdrop in order to commit a greater crime. It's a great, look, 1 and 3 are fantastic. 2 is really good too. Die Hard 4, there was a fan edit that I saw of Live Free or Die Hard, where they took the theatrical version and the unrated version and they mixed them together because the unrated had all the swearing and the blood, but not anywhere near as good of the jokes. For some reason, they cut out good jokes. And they cut out a whole bunch of Kevin Smith. They retuned it with color correction, and the movie was actually a pretty solid. It was the ultimate cut, what they called it. I thought it was fantastic. But and then of course Die Hard 5, but we don't really talk about Die Hard 5, but Die Hard 6. Now that I'm done with my introduction, my setup to this one here, but Die Hard 6 has been something they've been hinting at for years. For years they've been talking about it, and it sounds like it's kind of up in the air now after the Disney deal, as these things are kind of one to be. So according to, again, producer Lorenzo Di Bonaventura, if I could say his name, when asked about what's going on with McClane, he says, "I wish I knew, not yet. I don't know what's going to happen there. It's really up to them because obviously they're now owned by Disney. My sense is that we won't know much about it for a while they debate what they're debating. I don't know enough about their plans to really have a point of view. They like our script." Now, saying that they like our script, and this is what the article says here, that's a good sign, even if the specifics of they weren't discussed. But there's been a lot of talk about the script in the past year. Bruce Willis talked about checking out the script a year ago. Shortly after that, reports came out claiming that the Conjuring writers, Chad and Carrie Hayes, were hired to write the script. Now they did confirm that the title of the movie was going to be McClane, and currently the idea of it was Bruce. It was John McClane in his 20s as a cop in New York, probably a detective, maybe a new detective in New York, meeting Holly Gennaro and them falling in love. And then that juxtaposing itself with older Bruce Willis while trying to maybe solve the crime that they set up when he was younger that never got solved or something. And maybe it was a crime that brought him and Holly together. And maybe at the end of the franchise, him and Holly can finally get together. I mean, that's obviously what a lot of fans are going to want, because that's been this ongoing theme throughout all 5 of the movies. It's always been about family. Die Hard 1, he goes out to LA to reconnect with his wife and his kids and get back together, and it ends up kind of working through Die Hard 2, when even at the end of that one, Holly's like, why does this keep happening to us? But then by the time we get to Die Hard 3, it's been a few years. John has been John. He hasn't really changed despite what's happened. Ends up going back to New York single, becomes a detective again. And then at the end of that one, Zeus says, "Hey, call your wife, call Holly, and try to, figure it out." And that's where they left us. Die Hard 4, they're still broken up, but he ends up, his daughter's around. And of course, Mary Elizabeth Winstead was a badass in that movie. And then we get his son as special ops tutor or whatever, CIA covert guy in number 5. So it's always kind of been about like his family. Die Hard has always revolved around his family in some aspect or another, which is probably one of the reasons why Die Hard with a Vengeance as a whole worked out really well in its particular story structure. So like I said, going back to like the brother avenging the brother. So there's a lot there. So my question then becomes, with this particular story, are we going to get a bit more of the family and then finally get some goddamn closure at the end of the movie? At the end of Die Hard, will we finally get the closure that we desire? Will we finally get the ability to look at John and Holly and go, happily ever after? Or is McClane going to die saving Holly? Is he going to finally, you know, run out of luck? These are things that could possibly happen. I also want to know if they're ever going to touch on the whole fact that they were in Chernobyl and there's a whole shit ton of radiation there, and is that ever going to be a thing that kicks up in these movies? But that being said, I hope Disney allows it. Now, here's the thing though with that is it's not like Disney owns it, but Fox is still Fox. Fox is going to have new executive leadership, but Fox ultimately is still Fox. It's a vertical to Walt Disney Studios. So they might allow it, and they do want to go down this pathway of you know, giving us these kind of R-rated movies because that's part of the business. And at CinemaCon last week, Disney did play up the fact that they own these franchises. Not so much Die Hard, but they did Planet of the Apes and Dark Phoenix and stuff that is wholly owned by Fox, at least at this point, is stuff that they played up being around. And there's other movies in a sizzle reel that Fox owns that are now being, you know, promoted by Disney. So what my friend led me to believe essentially is that Disney is aware of these properties and they still want to work on these properties. And I think Die Hard is one that they could ultimately really retool to the point of being good again. And maybe we'll get lucky and maybe they'll do it. But my problem is that they still have Len Wiseman attached to direct McClane. And it's not that Len Wiseman is a horrible director. He's just not necessarily a good director. One of the running gags I have for him is that he's left more projects in Hollywood than he has actually directed. I mean, he did Underworld 1, Underworld 2, Live Free or Die Hard. He did that Total Recall remake that nobody liked, and he did, I think, the pilot episode of Sleepy Hollow, which was arguably fun for its Highlander reference. But ultimately, the dude is not like as big in this world, so maybe they could find a new director that could breathe some new life into John McClane. Or listen, John McTiernan is out of prison. All right, like give it to McTiernan. Like let McTiernan, you know, go out and like just really kind of get his career back, because this dude is awesome. Everyone loves McTiernan movies, and I think that it's a poor move to not bring him in to really kind of finish up the series. Because if McClane ever gets off the ground, this will be most likely the final Bruce Willis, John McClane outing. Bring in McTiernan, let him wrap it up, let him put his touch on it, and I think ultimately the fans will be receptive and the box office will definitely be inflated. But those are just my thoughts and my opinions. I am curious to know what you guys think about this. Let me know down in the comments below. My name, of course, is Matt Jarbo. This has been 3 Buck Theater. Let me know also if you guys like the green screen setup here, because it's, again, I'm testing some stuff out. I'll talk to you all later. Have yourself a great day, and peace out.